Hey, my name's Mike and I want to show a short video about how to operate a Texas Pride roll-off system. Other trailers are pretty similar. This is a 12-foot long version with 16K GVWR, so it's two 8K axles. It's got the auto tarp. It's got electric winch, 15,000 pound winch. And the hydraulic controls and winch controls are down in this box here. Comes with two large batteries. This is the hydraulic pump and reservoir. This is the off-on switch to control everything, so turn that off when you're going down the road, turn it back on when you actually want to operate it. This is the winch control. This is the back towards the truck. This is to let the box down. And then this is the hydraulics control. This makes the trailer go up. This makes it go down. This button right here controls the auto tarp. And this is the winch right here, and this is where the control plugs in, unless you get a remote control, which is optional. It costs a few $100s more, but I just have mine wired in direct. Before I get into the details, I also want to let you know that I'm selling this setup, the 16K roll-off trailer with three of these 15-yard dumpsters. You can call me at this number right here if you're interested, as of January 2020. If you're watching this video much later than that, I probably have already sold it. And I'm also selling this F550. I'm just going to buy some other types of equipment for my other business interests. Now, if you are buying a roll-off trailer, I want to warn you about one thing before I get into the real details. Buy one that's industry standard rail width. A lot of these trailer manufacturers don't manufacture them that way. You have to ask for it specifically. It's an upgrade. They'll probably charge you extra. They did for me on this trailer and the dumpsters themselves. If you don't do that, these rails are going to be a different width than what the big roll-off trucks use, which means you won't be able to put these dumpsters on a real roll-off truck in case your stuff breaks down. And if you want to upgrade to a real roll-off truck without industry standard rail width, you're not going to be able to without selling all your dumpsters to somebody who has a Texas Pride or other roll-off system trailer. I don't remember exactly how many inches the Texas Pride rail width is. It's like 36 inches or something like that. Other dumpster manufacturers or other roll-off trailer manufacturers have their own little weird rail widths as opposed to industry standard. The point being is it gets you tied to their system because they're the only ones who manufacture dumpsters for that rail width. If you try to upgrade to a roll-off truck later and try to tailor your roll-off rails and hydraulics and everything that gets installed on the truck itself, you're going to find out that the manufacturers who manufacture the real thing don't do it in weird sizes. So make sure you pay attention to that, the rail width. Now, this particular one can easily haul about 10,000 pounds. I've put as much as 12,000 pounds on it. It didn't have any issues. If you go much more than that, it could probably handle it. But alright, so we've got a dumpster here I'm about to pick up. I'll show you what to do right before you pick up the dumpster. First of all, we got to open the control panel. Get out our winch control and our hydraulic control. Turn on the power. And then what I like to do sometimes before I even back up to a dumpster, depending on how tight the street is, this is a cul-de-sac, so it's pretty easy. But if you're on a tighter street, I like to raise this thing before I even back up a driveway. That way I'm in and out quicker. So before you back up to the rails there, raise the hydraulics. Just takes a few moments. that's about low enough to where it'll fit underneath those rollers there. Alright, cool thing I want to show you real quick before we back up to these this dumpster. It's very important that you have the rails lined up within a few inches and not do it at an angle. To assist with that, I have this tool that plugs into your cigarette lighter. And it's a camera, it's a backup camera. Just press the power button on the side there, turn on the camera. As you can see, sorry, the lighting is a little weird on this with a phone camera, but you'll be able to see as we back up. And this thing has a magnetic base, so you throw it on the dumpster. So just put it right up there. It has a thing where you can put it in an angle, the right angle, to be able to see these rollers to make sure your rails are lined up. So here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and back up to it. And that should be close enough to where we can get it up onto the rails without going off the rails. As you can see, we're about an inch or two within being flush, and that should be sufficient. Make sure you remember to take your camera down. Then you hook up this hook onto the hook. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. It's harder. It just goes over like that. And then use the winch to start getting it up. I like to winch it up to about this point, which is maybe a fourth up the way, and then I'll go ahead and lower this rail a little bit. The reason being, this angle can get kind of steep if you just winch it straight up, and I think it creates more tension on your winch, so I try to give my winch a break. And so I'll go ahead and let this down a little bit. And as you can see, there's a pivot point right about there, and that's why I choose about right there to start doing this. And then I'll start winching it up some more. And once it gets on there a good ways, I'll go ahead and lower it the rest of the way. And then I'll finish winching it. By the way, this winch also comes with a remote control version of the winch and hydraulics. I just didn't splurge on it on this unit. Alright, I'll go ahead and winch it the rest of the way, and I'll show you something like the back here. There's a catch on it, but you'll see. So once you get it on there, these things serve as a catch for the rollers. Also back here, let's see, yeah, you can see it from that angle. See how that rail kind of divots below the roller. That's another kind of safety mechanism. When you unload it too, you'll have to get over that hump, but I'll show you that as well. Also, you need to install another safety device. By law, you have to do these ratchets unless you have some other safety mechanisms installed. So there's a hook down there and then hook up there. These things, I think, according to DOT, are supposed to be 5,000 pound capacity. This is hard to do with one hand, so I'm going to go ahead and ratchet them up there real quick. I'm sure you know how to use a ratchet. So there's one on this side, and then I'll do the other side real quick. That's how that ratchets on. It's just to keep it from flying off in case you get in a wreck, top over, or whatever. And there is the other side. Now, along with everything else, this thing has an automatic tarp. So the button's on this side. Press open. And it just rests right there. Before you go down the road, make sure you remember to tuck away your cords and turn off this switch so you don't start hydraulicking as you're going down the road and do some crazy stuff and offload your dumpster accidentally. Don't forget to take down your camera. Alright, so I'm at the landfill. Now I'm going to show you how to dump this thing. Hopefully you can hear me. First of all, we turn on our power and get our cords out. Now that we got that out, remember to undo the tarp before you go to dump. Then we can undo the doors. Watch out for falling debris when you do this. Latch the door before dumping. Same thing on the other side. And then just press the button and watch it go. It's always good to put a good angle on it. Sometimes you get stuff that gets stuck. This stuff I think will slide out. Sometimes if you got carpet though, it'll get wedged in there, or mattresses. And then you scoot up with your truck. Always make sure you put on your parking brake when you're dumping. And it's all clear. And then just let it down again. close your doors. And always remember to put up your cords and power off your system before you go down the road. And it's all tucked away in there, and then that's it. Alright, so let's talk about dropping this thing off. First thing, when you go to drop it off, you want to take off the ratchet straps you got here. Otherwise it won't come off. That's kind of hard to do one-handed, so sorry I had to skip that part. It's easy to forget these things, so try to remember. Alright, then we got to get to our control panel again. Turn back on the power. Now we've got our cables out. This thing rolls off the back once you raise it. So make sure you got a good clearance, because it's going to roll this way. It's about 12 foot long on this one, so make sure whenever you go drop it off a customer's house, you measure about 12 feet. And you'll see under here where this rail is at, how it dips below the last roller a little bit. That's part of it is a safety mechanism, so it doesn't roll off. So whenever we unload this thing, you'll see a little hump as it goes down over that. Before I jack it up, I like to loosen this winch just a little bit. Helps it get over that hump. Don't do it too much though, because it'll go too far and maybe drop on the concrete and damage it. So then this is the hydraulic control. We're just going to press up until it's almost all the way up, and then it'll go over that little hump, and then we can let it roll off. I think it's over that little hump, so it'll start rolling now. So you use the winch control. So you can see I let it winch a little bit more off even after it was already on the ground, just so I can undo this hook, because it does need a few inches of play to come off this hook, so it makes it easier. Another thing to note is this is a smooth driveway. It doesn't always come off quite this easy. If there's rocks or bumps, this can get caught up a little bit. If it does, what you do is you can put this at more of an angle, a down angle, to where a lot of the weight is resting on the rails, and kind of rock it back and forth a little bit, and it'll get over a hump, and then you can put it back down. Sometimes, like I said, you got to be able to lower and raise it to get over some obstacles. The other option is you can extend this winch control into the cab of your truck. It's long enough. I just have it wrapped up because most of the driveways I go down are smooth. And make sure your truck and trailer are in line, and you can work the winch as you just drive forward with your truck. And so if I try to drop it right here, the end of the dumpster would be here and the front would be here because I'm just rolling forward. And then this thing, I like to not winch it up every single time all the way to the front and then winch it back every time I go to pick up a dumpster. So what I do is I wrap the cord around this and then secure it with a one of these things. Carabiner's the name of it. So yeah, see how I just wrapped it around, and that way every time I go to pick up a dumpster, it's right there and I don't have to mess with the winch. Now I could lower this thing a little bit and this would just come right off, but I don't want to scratch the driveway, so I'm going to drive forward with the truck and then put it down. Okay, now that I have some clearance, I'll go ahead and lower the hydraulics. Sorry, this makes for a little bit of boring video, but it gives you an idea of how long it takes. It's not hard work, it just takes a little time. And then remember to turn off your power before you roll off, and wrap up your cords in here before you roll off. This does come with a remote control version. I just didn't buy it. It's just a few extra $100. Just remember to turn that off. Tuck away your cord. You can secure this thing up here. I like to just drape it in here. It's protected from the weather. This latch doesn't really damage this cord at all. And I always like to test before I leave that I've turned everything off, so I try to use automatic tarp. If it's not going, that's a good sign before I roll down the road. And then as far as how to operate the doors, I was trying to make this all one video, but I keep on getting phone calls and interrupted, so I apologize. You undo this latch, then you slide this thing. It's hard to do with one hand, unfortunately. That just pivots back and forth. You raise that up, undo that, and that comes out that way. The main thing that keeps it in there is this little lever right there. You kind of see what's going on. There's nothing up top that's really going on. And you open it up. And then when you go to the landfill, you latch the door when you're ready to dump. And the other thing is just the same deal. Always open the left one first before the right, because as you can see, there's a lip that keeps the sides together. So you got to open this one second, and whenever you go dump, you close this one first and then close that one. And so to close the door, like I said, this one's already closed. They're both the same though. See how that little notch goes in there, and then you turn this deal, raise this up, put that lever in there, put that down, put the pin through, and then it's secure. Always make sure you check the doors when you go to pick these things up, because people will kind of like halfway latch them and they'll be like that, and the door looks shut but it's really not, and it's not safe. So always do a walk around if your customers decide to help you but do a bad job.